might be, but it's really been Ascendance who has been adapting as they need to. And again, that's the key word. Do they need to? Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't.
Yeah, I don't think we've seen Ascendants get pushed off course yet.
Mhm.
And I definitely want to see that. I want to see them get challenged. I want
Yeah,
them to see, I want to see what happens when their back is against the wall. Because are they one of those teams that decides to push forward, like, and run what they have always ran and figure that
sure.
out? Or are they a team that is going to switch it up? Do they have another pocket strat that they're ready to roll out with?
And so you'll notice here, actually, when we look at it from this perspective, it looks like 3-1-1, right? Because we're seeing orange run up against that Lucario on the top lane. It's obviously going to be your perspective of what you're looking at, because obviously that was for orange, but we see purple with the 1-1-3. So we're obviously talking from bottom to top.
Yeah, they flip the lanes, which is kind
Yeah.
of interesting because usually if you want more experience, you go down to bottom to farm the Audinos because
Mhm.
they give a little bit more. But if the team wants to fight, for extra core fish, for having, mid lane control as a potential like ability, that is something that they want to do. Um, so yeah, it's really interesting to see this. Like they want the
Right.
numbers advantage for their supports, but at what trade-off are you getting here?
And speaking of that trade-off, we are now seeing, though, of course, it might have been perhaps an early rotation from jungle. Maybe not. I mean, the bees are here now, but I guess the point was just that we now see Ivysaur right here for only peer pressure going to be coming down to obviously help out that lone Froakie there on that bottom lane. That would be pretty difficult to deal with. So it was pretty obvious where it was going to rotate. Jungle obviously having the choice to go up top or go bottom. And likewise, we see Ascendance right there with the Raboot right now, but Cinderace player did rotate top to help out Lucario, who, I mean, Lucario can kind of hold its own, obviously, but very interesting.
Yeah, this is a very interesting move by both teams, actually. They
Yeah.
are rotating majority of their team downwards, and now they see the Lucario here. They're going to try to get the Sing off, and yeah, they are going to be able to get that kill. So even though he abandoned top lane, he's not going to quite get as much out of it. And yeah, Wigglytuff is going to get out, but probably at the cost of the Snorlax, and that is exactly what they will trade out. But the smart thing from only peer pressure here is that because they put the three in top lane, they're eating up more farm, which means that there's less for Lucario to get off the attack weight. So that is the
Right.
trade that they're making here. It's like Froakie's levels are not going to be as high as they need to.
Hmm.
Obviously, you would like to be like a Frogadier right about now, but
Yep.
if you are going to lose a lane, you'd rather make sure that like their star player, who's usually the one who needs the most levels, can't farm. So if they're constantly zoning out this Lucario, um, and the levels are going towards the crowd control heroes that they need,
Yeah.
hopefully that snowballs into the Dreadnought fight by the time that they head down there.
Speaking of that Dreadnought fight, we got 3-2-1-0 right there. So Dreadnought is on the map, but you don't really see people going for it right now. We do have kind of a big skirmish right here happening just at that moment, and it looks like Eldegoss is going to go down right here from only peer pressure. We talk about trade-offs as well. The major trade here was, of course, that bottom lane. I mean, you saw that goal is out of there from only peer pressure, and that's the Dreadnought right here. Left side team, which is obviously Ascendance, gonna pick up those shields and XP that come with that Dreadnought. And also going to get that Rotom right here.
Yeah, and that was actually a really smart play there. It just comp- compete for both boss Pokemon,
Mhm.
see where the teams are, and then if one is free, go ahead and take it. Lucky for them, they were able to take both of them. But
Right, right.
I felt like if only peer pressure was like aware that Dreadnought was coming up, they probably would have wanted to take that fight bottom.
Yeah, and so that's going to be the interesting thing. And as you said, we kind of wish, of course, if we were, let's say, from the perspective of Orange, we want our Greninja to be leveled up a little bit more right now. Luckily, it is Greninja, kind of staying in line with the rest of the squad mates. But again, it's like, isn't the point to be maybe a little bit ahead? But Venusaur at level 9, we do have again those trade offs. Venusaur obviously with that 40 down there on the bottom lane, but we do see Snorlax in a little bit of trouble. Obviously able to tank those hits though, and that's what you want, to pick up that berry right there, just be right back into the fight, but Eldegoss is going to go down instead.
Yeah, Eldegoss is gonna fall as well. We just see the Snorlax sustaining off of the citrus berries that he can
Yeah.
grab. Um, but yeah, the amount of pressure that Ascendance is applying is something that we've seen in previous games. It's eating up as much of the map as possible. And then if they don't get objectives, if they don't get the boss Pokemon, like you definitely make them pay for that. You're taking Dreadnought by getting more levels, and then you try to see how much pressure you can apply to Rotom as well. So yeah, we're about 15 seconds out until the respawn of the Dreadnought, about 10 seconds or 5 seconds
Yep.
behind for the Rotom. So we'll see if these teams want to scrap again.
Yeah, and that scrap they will, because we can see this spectacle going on right down here with that skirmish. Mr. Mime throwing down the Unite, but you're seeing them pop off all over the place right here. So this is going to determine how well are they going to be stacked up for that Dreadnought. It does look like those Snorlax and, wow, Wigglytuff, they are getting picked off like flies. Down goes, okay, a lot of their players, but Greninja actually going to still hang on until that last second for that KO streak right here. So it's Ascendance's game once again. Mr. Mime obviously going to drop in as well.
Yeah, Mr. Mime just applying a little bit more pressure to that bottom goal, and more importantly, giving space to Ascendants to go and grab the Dreadnought, get their levels. So if they want to compete for it again, it will be a 10-second Dreadnought, like 2 minutes and 10 seconds. The Dreadnought will be back, but I doubt that they want to fight that. Uh, but yeah, they are looking at the Rotom now. They are looking to potentially apply some pressure there. But if you're only peer pressure, you're trying to get some more levels under your belt. Right now, I don't think taking these fights is going to go into your advantage. As you see, a lot of them are under leveled compared to their opponents because of the Dreadnought. It may have been, nerfed during the
Yeah.
Halloween patch, but it's still something which a lot of teams still need to respect.
I agree with that. I think that, it's still like a little bit fresh in our minds, so certainly there is still some wiggle room of people trying to figure out, hey, should we prioritize Rotom a little more, certainly, but like you have to adapt to what the match needs, and that's where we've seen Ascendance shine today. And look at this, I mean, Orange Snorlax right now going at it, only peer pressure. They are going to try to just push this back, and that is an advantage to Snorlax's block. Yeah, we can push it back. Rotom having that buff means it's a lot harder to take down, so fortunately, they don't really have purples to contest them until this Pikachu comes up right now to make me eat those words.
But yeah, we don't know if the bug is still in place where you can push Rotom away and it will go to
Mhm.
the wrong goal. Um, I think that's what they're trying to do. Because if they do that, then obviously like there's no pressure to even like contest Rotom at that point. You see once again the walls like
Yeah.
separating out that Venusaur from the rest of the team, just not even allowing them to play this out. But once again, there's that
Yep.
10 seconds left for the Dreadnought. I don't see any teams really going for it, but
Right,
they
right.
are trying to get ready for the Zapdos fight here.
Interesting, they are bringing the fight down to that bottom lane, which is, I guess just where everybody's positions were, and there goes the Unites. They're popping off all over the place, and Greninja looking to be in trouble right here from the Orange Squad. That's going to be a power nap right here from Snorlax, who is going to then turn into Heavy Slam. Only Pure Pressure has to be feeling that pressure because, I mean, obviously right now they are looking to get that score from Wigglytuff. It got disrupted and actually KO'd, so very not good if you're only Pure Pressure right now, as you now see Ascendance going after this Zapdos already at half HP.
Yeah, and the Eldegoss would would like to have gotten there a
Yeah.
little bit earlier, but uh, it doesn't seem like that's the case. But yeah, Ascendants just definitely had the pressure. They were ready to go. They're using eject button to get over walls, get ready for massive scores, and then they could back off. But overall, it was the leveling, being able to prioritize the Dreadnought, get the levels that they need, and then on top of that, having map control. Ascendance was just
Yes.
all over the place, just not letting peer pressure do anything really.
Yes, I mean, if you imagine just from the get-go, right from the ready-go, to see that 3-1-1 strategy again from only peer pressure, looks like things didn't really pay off. Maybe they were thinking to like throw them off, and you and I were sort of discussing all the different intricacies of that. Looks like the Mr. Mime is going to pull off that Unite right there, so it's showtime, ladies and gentlemen, and that was a good time to kind of save that. It's just any time that you can buy right here. We only have 30 seconds left, but with those point values doubled, obviously, only peer pressure is going to need a lot of points, but look at this. They are being dropped. So, I mean, we'll see. It's a tall order.
It is a tall order, and
Yeah.
I don't think that they're gonna be able to
Yeah.
get in here, but I do think that once again, levels, map control, going in the way of Ascendance. If you're only peer pressure, I feel like if you literally just swap the lanes, if you had if you have the Greninja or somebody else top to deal with to go 1v1 against Lucario, that's
Sure.
fine. And then on bottom you get your levels by the Audino farm, allowing them to have experience share and farming down there. That probably would work out better. And they are gonna swap around a couple picks here. And I do like this pickup.
Yeah.
The Cinderace and Sylveon instead of the Greninja and Venusaur that they initially had. Because here's the thing, like Venusaur, it requires you to be level 5 to even get your first ability. If
Yeah.
they do run, um, if they do end up running the Sylveon mid, which it doesn't look like it's going to be the Cinderace, but um, just getting the levels early on Eevee into Sylveon is going to be really important. It's a less farm reliant character because you get your ult at level 8, which
Yeah.
it's fast for an attacker. So that is going to be really interesting to see how they end up playing this out.
So you know me, I hate to, of course, put you on the spot at any time, but I love to get your perspective, Kanashi, as just on what our makeup is here, because now we obviously see only peer pressure did change up that laning, so we're going to see that 2-1-2 right now. And obviously, Lucario going to be soloing up top right there, as kind of to be expected, I guess, from Ascendance if they weren't going to change things up too much. And so, again, just any perspective that you have on this, I love to hear it, and I'm sure the viewers at home do too. So, whatever you want to rapid fire with me, let's do it.
Yeah, it's once again that the mime for zoning, the
Yeah.
experience share on the Eldegoss for zoning and also extra damage, and the Pikachu to get the right hits and get the levels that they need. They are running at a pace that is super fast. And because Pikachu is getting these levels so quickly, like if he finds a an Electro Ball on something, or I'm assuming it's gonna come out pretty soon.
Yeah.
Um, if they get the damage out, it is gonna be very difficult for only peer pressure to even like walk into bottom lane for the most part.
That's right, and it looks like Raboot just in a terrible situation for themselves. Ascendants obviously loving that, they could have their jungler intercept that while Pikachu, of course, from the bottom lane, didn't have to divert too much attention or anything, but it was well worth it, I would say, great, just great moves overall right there, and your jungler got to pick up a little bit more as Eevee in trouble now for only peer pressure, gonna be KO'd right here as the clock hits 7:55 and we see many scores here on the bottom lane.
Yeah, they are just trying to apply pressure, maybe even break the goal before
Yeah.
the Dreadnought comes up. That level of not having Citrus Berry is really important, especially for sure locking down Dreadnought.
Yeah.
I couldn't quite figure out my words there,
It's
but
okay.
yeah, just making sure that they don't have recovery and HP and shield closer to that bottom goal is really important. So, um, just being able to apply that pressure is very important.
You're exactly right. The other component of that, as we see actually some pretty nice pivotal goals right there to at least get the score gap just to, a little bit closer here for Orange, only peer pressure. But the other thing to mention about that bottom goal, and especially as it pertains to Dreadnought, is we're not just talking about the berries too. We're talking about everything that comes with that goal. It comes down to just mere seconds, what I'm about to mention, but even just the speed boost, being able to heal, just having the comfort of that goal right there. Obviously, only peer pressure not going to have it. And we can see right here, Ascendance just going to have Cinderace solo that while Mr. Mime kind of keeps posted up like a sentry right there to make sure nobody comes in. Very nice play. I mean, now Orange seems to be putting all their eggs into the basket of Rotom as they're all rotated up here.
Yeah, they're going to be able to try to apply a lot of pressure here. They do have the level advantage, but only peer pressure has a lot of crowd control, and that's exactly what's going to allow them to secure down this Rotom. It's going to slowly walk on forward, and
Yep.
maybe they can grab a couple kills here.
That's what we would like to see, and of course, Ascendant's doing pretty good at kind of keeping it back. It is dangerously close still, but I'm just saying, we're seeing, look at that pivotal Snorlax kill right there. You really did need that, just so it's not going to mess with you and stun you. Any, 1 second, 2 second knockup right there, is going to be valuable for only Pure Pressure, who, of course, is not going to get that benefit. Look at this. We're now going to see several scores coming in on the top lane. That will be the break if Eldegoss can get that in, which it does right there, ladies and gentlemen.
So yeah, once again, Ascendant's taking up as much of the map as they can, and that is something that it's almost a repeat of game one. They just eat up all the lanes, they eat up as much farm as they can, and if peer pressure cannot get the levels that they need, like you see the level difference between this poor Wigglytuff
Right.
and the Pikachu. It's two levels. Like they have one has ult and one is
Yeah.
not quite there yet. So it's just so much pressure that Ascendance is putting onto them that it just snowballs and escalates into something that if you're not securing Dreadnought as quickly as you can, then you end up just not having levels to even fight.
That's exactly right. That's going to be the next key moment here as we're about to enter 5 minutes on the clock. We see Pikachu getting that KO on Sylveon. Very nice for Ascendance right now. They do need to take some of these players out, but of course there will be a little bit of time. Nope, that Snorlax going to also be taken out right here. Very nice barrier from Mr. Mime. I was about to say the word barrier-ing. Gonna turn it into a verb right now. But anyway, the Dreadnought now on the map. And so we're going to see probably Ascendant's going to get that again. Look at this. There's no contest right now for it. So yes, left side team getting the shields, getting the experience. So Orange, once again, as you just mentioned, being shut out from that chance at more XP, which they needed. Look at now, 7 on that Wigglytuff's levels to go up against the Pikachu, for example, any of those matchups. But look at Pikachu, Lucario, Cinderace. We got 11, 12. This is a bit devastating.
Yeah, they are snowballing like crazy. And if only peer pressure cannot find anything, like I don't even think that stealing Zapdos at this point is going to gonna secure them the win. Like they have so much of the map taken that if you have to win a fight at around like in the 2 minutes, like during Zapdos
Yeah,
or something,
sure.
you have to find like two people and then try to win a 5v3. But that is asking for quite a bit.
Yeah, so like we say, it's a tall order, and we are in that 3 minutes, 30 seconds almost about to be on the clock right here. And it's really, it is going to be tough because they would need this time. Like basically right now, only peer pressure would have to be scoring these big goals. And so that is going to be a unite from Wigglytuff. You usually like to see that around other players. You want to benefit as many of them as you can, but sometimes you need to do it for survival's sake. And Wigglytuff, doing a bit of survival, but really can it make it? Wow, this is actually going to be a little 13 in there, which is going to give a boost of HP, a little bit of XP, of course, too, with that. But they really just also need those points on board. We're going to see if it's going to be enough. Again, you said it already, it's like that's a pretty tough thing, even to get the Zapdos at this point, pretty dramatic score difference here.
Yeah, and they are using the Pikachu is going for the more damage build with Thunder, which I also appreciate quite a bit. They had that change in the patch notes that
Mhm.
allowed it to have a little bit more, and yeah, they're taking full advantage of that. You just see you just see the
Yeah.
stuns happening, and then it's just extra damage just layered on top. It's a pain cake. If I've ever seen one come out from a Pikachu. And yeah, they're just gonna grab the Dreadnought again. That's the third Dreadnought that goes in
Yeah.
the way of Ascendance.
This is looking like, you'd want to say that's all she wrote. I mean, obviously we have a Zapdos still to come, but I mean, look at this, just the macro play and even the micro, they're winning the team fights that they need to, but they're also winning the objectives that they needed to. I mean, Ascendance just beasting this game out right now. And so again, they're going to obviously see that they're in the lead, and it's very clear just from visually seeing how many goals are gone as we now enter the final stretch.
Yeah, this is gonna be really interesting. If Ascendants even want to start this, or they're gonna let only peer pressure maybe start it because they know that they need it, and then deal with them later, or what are they gonna do? Mine looks like
Yeah.
they just want to stall it for a bit.
Yep.
Hey
Put up some
guys,
barriers in the choke.
yeah, it's just
Yeah.
let's make them watch my Twitch ad for revenue. That's
Right,
exactly what they're
right.
doing. They're just putting it up, waiting. Here's another one. Yeah, so they're just trying to stall out as much time as they can because the less time that they have, the less time they have to take Zapdos and to score. So
That's
yeah,
right.
they have a lot of time to work with here.
And so it does put only peer pressure in a really like bad spot to be, pretty captain obvious, right? But we're now seeing their total team wipe right here. And so, obviously Ascendance can take that Zapdos just to be sure. Why wouldn't you right now at this point? And it's really that's all she wrote. But I would just say to analyze that once again, Mr. Mime putting up those barriers in the choke point, it's got to be frustrating if you're only pure pressure. I mean, we're now seeing 875 to 169, but they were in a position where they couldn't even really rotate to go around either top or bottom because that would just be time wasted once again. So they were trying to push through these barriers, see, hey, like, can they come down? Like, can we sneak through? And then the problem there was that the Wigglytuff would sneak through and then not be supported by anybody else. So it was really just like a lose, lose, lose all the way around.
Yeah, it's just snowballing. I
Yeah.
have no other way of really saying it.
That is the best term, yeah.
They they just take what they can and take up the map, and if you don't get the levels that you need, you just end up getting erased, which is unfortunate. Like,
Yeah.
uh, you'd like to see these teams like maybe make the adjustment. Like, this is, your back's against the wall going into this next one, right? So if you're only peer pressure, I feel like you had the right idea to switch things up a little bit. I
Mhm.
would have liked to see the lanes be a little bit more like sustainable, because
Mm.
you always end up giving up that bottom lane. That was something that, like, they had trouble with the first game. Meanwhile, on the other side, Ascendance is still running the same comp that has worked. So hopefully we get to see, the changes, these couple changes that we've seen. Is this going to be enough to throw Ascendance off their rocker a little bit?
That's right. And so we've got that ready go, ladies and gentlemen. So very well, you could be looking at the last match, but we don't want to call anything for sure. It would have to be Ascendance's victory right there to bring that to the grand finals end. We are going to notice, of course, it's a 3-1-1 now for only peer pressure. So Kanashi and I were sort of wondering, what is the lane going to look like? What are all the lanes going to look like? Once again, going back with that Greninja being the solo bottom laner. So sort of interesting, although we were a little bit skeptical. We'll see. Anything can happen.
Yeah, he's trying to just get whatever farm they can,
Yeah.
but I feel like this is always a tough battle. Like, if you don't have numbers advantage, or even like if you had a second person down there to maybe even absorb a little bit, it would be so much better for it'd be so much better for the Froakie in general. I do understand, like, hey, maybe we get our supports up early, maybe we all get to level 6 before Dreadnought, and then we start that fight. Um, that might be a way of going about it, but yeah, it looks like they just want to take away as much as they can from Zapdos here.
Absolutely. And so what we're seeing at this point, we've mentioned it a lot. I mean, bottom lane is just so important right now, and they are putting the pressure Ascendance on that bottom goal. So right now at 32 out of 80. And the key thing about this Froakie, I mean, it's just pinned down. I mean, look at how it can hardly do anything. Throwing out substitutes, of course, but what can we do in this situation? I mean, you need that positioning. It's everything when it comes down to using Greninja skillfully, let's say. Just kind of keeping aware of your positioning in relation to where your opponents are and set up smooth KOs for your team, or get the KOs yourself and keep snowballing that. But it just can't really being this lower level. I mean, you look at the levels of everybody on the field, and really Froakie lagging behind largely.
Yeah, it's very difficult. Like, I feel like if only peer pressure comes down at 7 minutes, let's just say if they played this like the Dreadnought still
Mhm.
used to, like, previous patch, if they get the levels and they win that, it might allow them to actually win the fight, like win the game, because they need the levels on everyone here. But they also need to help Froakie. Like, Froakie is literally that. Okay, like,
Look at
it
this.
was
Yeah.
alive. But yeah, it's really difficult. And now that they have that level and pressure on bottom, like, Ascendance is just going to be able to take this Dreadnought for free, even though they are fighting for these bees. But, like,
Right, right.
Cinderace is kind of having his way down here.
And so we're just now seeing the evolution of Frogadier right there. And I mean, Talonflame was the jungler, of course, for only pure pressure, is going to be up top, So again, assisting that top lane. So we're going to see that exact thing Kanashi called it. So Ascendance right there has free pickings, can just use the Cinderace to quickly take down the Dreadnought, but have a Mr. Mime there kind of as your guard. And they have so much territory, they can easily see that. And so Wigglytuff in a lot of trouble right here, but going to make it out just barely.
Yeah, it's just going to be able to back out.
Yep.
But the damage is already done. They already grabbed the Dreadnought. They have the levels, and they're applying pressure already on tier 2 on bottom. So even if they are winning, or even if they're applying pressure here at this fight, they aren't getting the map control that they should be getting out of this. So it's very difficult for them to really get anything out of this.
That's right. I don't think we're out of the realm of a comeback, so we're not saying that this is impossible. It's just you can see it happening before your eyes, and look at where the KOs are happening, right? Mostly we're seeing OPP go down, and they're even trying to gang up on this Mr. Mime, who is almost just we say adding insult to injury right now, but he's just scoring right in front of their faces, staying alive. Look at that, surviving that onslaught.
Yeah, it's just tanking all the damage that they need to, and because of that, they just have level advantage.
Right.
It's
Very base level. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen this happen 3 times already. It's the difference is like, yeah, only peer pressure is trying to do something different, but the fact that the bottom lane, like your damage dealer is like far behind, that they can't they're level 9, right? Like they're
Right.
getting solo experience, but the Cinderace is 11, the Pikachu is 10. Like if they run into any one of those two, like they are erased.
Pretty much
So
toast. Yep.
yeah, they just need to figure out how much damage they wanna apply and how they're gonna be able to, get their levels. That's another thing that needs to happen pretty soon.
Right. And the unfortunate thing about that is, let's say you are the Greninja in this case, you might try to go into these wild areas, the jungle, for instance, and try and pick off the wild neutrals, get that farm for the experience, but it takes you away from priorities like Dreadnought, maybe. It takes you away from the team fights. And again, it's like, if you're under leveled, what can you do? But we're seeing the Unites thrown out all over the place, including Wigglytuff, who we're spectating right now, getting its health drained very quickly. So it's going to throw out that Sing to try to survive, but no, does not make it out of this team fight.
Yeah, and that's once again level gain. It's a
Yeah.
difference of crowd control and figuring out what's going on. Like, yeah, everybody pressed Z left in that
Yeah.
fight. Like everybody popped their unite move. Everybody tried to get something out of there. Um, but it's just pure output damage that Ascendance has right now, and map control and boss Pokemon control that's making it so difficult for anybody to really get anything out of these fights.
So we can try to analyze, what is it going to take for only peer pressure really to get that win in plain terms? You do have to see KOs like this, but you have to stay alive. I mean, they're just getting KO'd trade for trade right there. But you have to get all the objectives probably. You're going to have to get that zap. Obviously, that's kind of the Captain Obvious stuff. But, really, we got to figure out a way to get these levels and get these points in. And it's just been very, very difficult. I mean, we can see Lucario on the bottom now for Ascendance, basically having free reign over whatever it wants to. So they have their hands full, only peer pressure does.
Yeah, only peer pressure has to find a way how to get some farm. Like,
Yeah.
I, I say as Ascendance is as Zapdos is literally eating their only
Right.
farm that's safe. So yeah, they're trying to take fights when they're under leveled, and because of that, they are like they're falling behind even further than they need to. So there are some moments where it's like, okay, we're not taking any objectives. We aren't fighting as much. We should, try to get some levels, try to even ourselves out here. But only peer pressure can only do so much. They're trying to get some scores in, trying to find some kills here and there, which they do with that Talonflame fly. But unless they happen to find like a bunch of kills, oh, that's two at the
Yeah.
cost of the Talonflame. But like they need to figure out a way how to get more map control than what they already have, and there's only 30 seconds until Zapdos, so that's
Right.
literally the difference here.
Yeah, and another shot at Dreadnought, honestly, with how fast they've been bursting it for Ascendance as well. So this is really not looking good, ladies and gentlemen. And so when we say, they have to look for farm, they have to look for ways to do these things, that is not easy. It sounds so easy when we say those words, but this is not easy. Look at that third Dreadnought out of there. So it's obviously coming down to Zap. I mean, the score is not completely in Ascendance's favor, like by a dramatic way, but I mean, look, it's basically double. So this is going to be very difficult for only peer pressure.
Yeah, so only peer pressure has to score uh, like about like 140 in order to take the lead again. So the only way how I can viably see that happening, they have to win this fight.
Right.
That is one. Somebody has to score probably 50 in that first goal, while the rest of the team tries to take the Zapdos. But it's obviously easier said than done. But like these fights are literally coming down to who survives and who's gonna walk out of here
And
alive.
that's the expected outcome, right? Because you've mentioned the levels so many times, and it's just so, what can they do at this point? It's just that might be it, ladies and gentlemen. And we're in that last minute approximately coming down to the wire. But we obviously see all these 50s that can now be deposited, which are going to be 100s right here. And that 66, of course, for the double. Look at this 731 now on the board. So that's going to be that surrender right here.
Yeah, and congrats